Welcome to Super Mania. Good morning. I am your host, Catherine McCord. I am very excited about today's episode because it's going to be a little bit lighter. I know we've talked about, some of the nonsense that we go through as the neurodiverse and kind of some of the struggles. We do a lot of education on the show. Today's going to be a lot lighter. We're going to talk about some of the humor, and there will be some of the drama mixed into, I'm sure, and some of the education. Definitely, I have an exciting, wonderful, energetic guest. She's going to wake us all up. I'm very excited to have her with us. But before we get started, I just want to share with everybody, if you need anything, if you need resources, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always here to help. I'm always glad to make introductions to help you find the resources that you need. And if you have any thoughts, questions, needs, anything like that, a funny story that you just want to share with us in the spirit of this episode, please drop it in the comments. We will see it and we will respond to you live. So without any further ado, I'm so very excited to have Ms. Sabrina with us. Welcome. Welcome to Supermania. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm so glad that you're here with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in.
Sure. So I am an HR professional, been in the industry for 20 years, and only recently have come to realize that I very likely have ADHD and have been accommodating myself my entire life without realizing it and developing those superpowers you talk about and that you put out there, because I've managed to not skip a beat throughout all of it. And I think I've brought some of that to my work without realizing it. And I'm looking forward to talking about some of the funny things that happen, because it is incredible how funny some of the instances can be when you look back on them.
It is. It's so funny. And I've always found that humor is so important to just coping with life.
That's so true.
I like to bring humor to everything. And just to put this out there. So I've had people ask me about the intro, and most people like it. I've had a couple of people that didn't. What I'm referring to at the intro is that people are masking, which is actually not good. That's actually not a healthy thing. It's something that we talk about, that we hope that people will grow past and not feel the need to do anymore. But when I'm talking about, we're hiding them on you and, covering up with secret identities, that's what I'm talking about, because there are so many people out there with neurodiversities that feel like they can't be themselves and they're doing unhealthy things to mask, and that's not good. So that's actually what I'm talking about.
Got it. Yeah.
In that intro.
That is true too. I've seen that definitively in my work. Employees around me in my care at the company that you could tell were not being true to themselves, that they were hiding certain aspects and the judgment that comes from the employees around them because they're not normal.
Right. And so one thing, I've always pushed is like the authentically you conversation was, first of all, please stop saying that. You're always you. Like, I don't even know. And you don't owe all of yourself to everyone all the time. It's not real life. But I always tell people, like, please quit saying that, because you can actually cause somebody with a neurodiversity a lot of stress. Like, what do they expect from me? Oh, God. Like, oh, no.
Do they think I'm pretending? Like, do they think this isn't me? Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah. And I tend to have obsessive moments in my own life. I get fixated on something that I really like. And then I get labeled as the whatever girl, like the tea girl, because I love to drink tea. And I'm like, I drink tea too.
I do other things.
I like, seltzer water. Like, why am I the tea girl? But I think that comes down to like that neurodiversity, right? Depending on how it shows up in you and how open you are about the various parts of yourself. But it can be hard. It can be hard to be labeled by other people when you're just being you, and it doesn't show up as whatever expects of you.
I like my unpleasant labels, and I know that's a controversial standpoint. Like, not everybody's going to feel that way, and I want to say I don't think that everyone should feel how I do. But so here's a story. This is going to kick us off here. So one of the labels that I've gotten over the years, and I have multiple neurodiversities, and what I talk about the most is bipolar, but I do have other ones such as OCD. And my OCD is different than other people's OCD. OCD people think that always looks exactly the same, kind of like Jack Nicholson and As Good as It Gets. That's not always what it looks like. So just so you know, but I do have OCD and some other stuff as well. And so, I'm always doing my little things. And the first label that just really cracked me up was someone looked at me and goes, "You're just like a beetle." And I was like, a beetle. And this struck me as particularly interesting. So I grew up with my grandfather who collected insects from around the world. And so I'm thinking like I have a favorite beetle. I am actually that human that has a favorite beetle, the Goliath beetle, by the way. And so I have a favorite beetle. And so they called me a beetle. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you just kind of doing things and you're interesting, but I don't really know what's up with you. Like, you're just like a beetle. And I was like,
okay,
cool. Like, just whatever. So, and I've been called, I've been told I'm mean. I've been told, which I love. Actually, I think that's hysterical. It does not bother me at all. I'm like, okay, if you think I'm mean, it's because I'm talking about you and I say the things that need to change. So that really doesn't bother me too much. But I've been called all kinds of things. And so it's just funny. So what are some of the funny things that you've had said to you in reference to your neurodiversity over the years?
Well, so I also have OCD, and mine manifests itself, like you said, no two look alike, but mine manifests itself in numbers. I have a real OCD around numbers, dates, times, calculations, and I can calculate a lot in my head, quicker than most people can manipulate a calculator. And my friends, for the longest time, my friends would just hand me the bill at restaurants so that I could figure out how much everybody owed and how much they should tip and all of the different pieces. And it was twofold. One, I was sober. Oftentimes they were not. Two,
that helps. I would have thrown out there, sobriety helps.
Right. Sobriety does help, but around numbers. And I have a friend who doesn't remember anything when it comes to like appointments or meetings. And she got in the habit of telling me when she had appointments or when she had things coming up that were really important for her not to forget. And I would text her and I'd be like, don't forget to do this thing today after work. And
so you're like, Sabrina, the human calendar. That's what I'm hearing.
I am. Don't put me on the spot with it, but if I'm prepared for it, I can go. If you give me a date out either direction about a year, I can usually tell you what day of the week it falls on without having to look.
I love it.
I've been doing it since I was a kid, and it always became, it was never a negative label, but it was always a almost like a circus sideshow. People would be like, oh, well, let me do it. Let me give you a date. Or, they would want to see me do the math in my head really fast. And I thought it was fun. Like you, I didn't get offended.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but that can also be very stressful for someone too. So please don't do that.
Absolutely. I don't mind. I love it because I was always
read the energy of the person.
Exactly.
Read the energy.
I was told in third grade I would never do higher math. They told my parents that I would never go above third grade math. And here I am, as an adult, I did accounting, I did bookkeeping, and I can multiply in my head and do all kinds of math in my head. Funny. And the school system nearly failed me, but my mom was
it happens a lot. I had a so on this sort of, we have another person that's really good at doing numbers. Yay, patience. That's really cool. Welcome to the club. We're all human calculators. Yay for us. Well, I think Sabrina's a notch up even from me. So good for you. But I think, so some of the other kind of just like hilarious stuff that's happened over the years. So the misconceptions, right? So I talk a lot about being bipolar, and most people do not understand what that is. They think that it means very erratic mood changes. Yeah. Absolutely not. Actually, kind of the opposite. It's extremely long, like extremes. So it's very long mania, which is up, and long depression, which is down, and it's cyclical. It's cyclical. It's actually predictable. I can predict mine down to like the half day on the cycles. I'm very, very good at it. I know when it's coming. Yeah. It's a lot of cycles. So, but some of the funny things that have happened over the years is like, I've had people look at me and go, you don't look bipolar. What does that even mean? I was like, can you tell me what you mean by that? And they go, well, like, you don't look like you're just gonna like spontaneously like get angry at me. And I'm like, okay, I think you mean I don't seem like I'm going to do that. Like, yeah. Okay. So, I don't seem like, well, I'm not going to. That's not what my condition does, so we kind of laugh about it. And then I've had people outright tell me I would never hire a bipolar person. And so this is funny to me. This is why this one's funny to me. Do you not know who I am? Like, do you not watch any speaking engagements that I do? And if you know me, you know that I have a very big mouth. I have no problem sharing my opinions. And so this happened to me one time. We were sitting in a networking meeting and the leader of the organization says this to me. And I go, and not, I guess, realizing I had somehow missed the bipolar aspect. And I go, well, that's really funny because you tried to hire me. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I go, well, duh, it means I'm bipolar. And the whole group starts laughing and everybody's like, yeah, you didn't know that? Everyone knows that Kat's bipolar. And it was this whole thing. And it was like, yeah, here it is. And it was like this whole discussion, but never backed off of it or anything, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine, but I've moved on from that. But it was so funny because it was just like this moment of crap.
Right? Well, people make assumptions. They make such huge generalized assumptions about what it means.
Yeah.
And they do have assumptions about what it looks like. And they expect somebody with bipolar to look erratic because they expect it to be erratic. I had a bipolar boyfriend when I was young, and I didn't understand what it meant, but I learned a lot. And he was very generous in sharing and not making me feel bad for asking a lot of questions that were probably, I mean, not that they were bad because I didn't know and I hadn't met anyone that I knew before that. But I learned a lot about it. And it was interesting to me, too, to see over the years how many people just misunderstand what that means.
Oh, yeah. And that's true of most conditions. Most people don't really understand ADHD. They think it means like you're bouncing off the walls 24/7. They think.
Oh, I get told all the time, you can't possibly be ADHD. Like you sit still and read, an entire novel. And I'm like, that's exactly part of what ADHD is.
Hyperfocus.
It means I get into something and I don't surface. Like I don't remember to eat or drink or
which is not good. Please do those things. I could just see you sitting there, like have it like your diaper for reading, like the reading diaper. Like
it's just the craziest part. And like, I never thought it was unusual, right? Because I just always did it. No one ever made me feel like it was unusual. But then people would be like, what do you mean you read a book in a day? And I'd be like, doesn't everybody?
That's normal, right? No. And I love reading too, but I don't usually do it in a day. I kind of span it out. That doesn't work for my brain, but I love it when people can do that.
I want to span it out. Next thing I know, it's done. Nope.
So we have reading diapers. So now that's going to be a thing in my head from now on.
I do not have or need them at this.
I know. I'm just being silly. I want to be clear.
At this age in my life,
someday it could happen. You never know. And it's okay, by the way. So I always tell. So this is something I don't talk about a lot. So I have a lot of physical diversity too. And one of my things, my least favorite of my health conditions, is my bladder condition. Mm. And this is a true story. This is not about neurodiversity, but it is about a diversity. So one day, my husband, who is just so great about everything that's wrong with me, like so many people would not know what to do with all of this. So he's so wonderful about it. And one day he comes running in to the room and he goes, baby, come quick, come quick, come quick. And I was like, okay. So I go running in there, and a little bit of background is that I've, I'm not going to get graphic about it, but my bladder is very weak. Okay. It's not in good shape. And my husband calls me in, and he goes, so look, look at the TV. And there was an advertisement for sexy, like, Depends, basically. Like, it was like, and it was like, this is so cute. Like, he doesn't want me to feel like one day when I need that, I'm not quite there yet, but I was like, but one day when I need that, he wants me to know that there's an option that won't make me feel old. Yeah. And he was so excited about this. And it was so cute.
That is so cute. The support around that is so phenomenal. Like, it really is so great. And yes, I know that company, actually. I think they also make menstrual underwear, and they do. Yeah, they started a line of bladder underwear for women when they get older, so they don't have to.
Because why not? Because women have all kinds of stuff that goes wrong with their bodies.
Yeah, because if not funny. Children, you might need those. Like,
yeah,
it is.
Oh yeah, birth is just a wreck. It's just a wreck.
I didn't go anywhere near that on purpose.
I digress. We've gotten off of the physical diversity, but it was so. But it was so sweet. And I want to make it very clear, I'm not making fun of people that need that kind of thing. We're just kind of cutting loose and just having some fun. So back to the neurodiversity. So I had another funny one. So for me, I've managed a lot of neurodiversity. Mm-hmm. And for me, the most challenging one for me to manage, not to work with in general, but to manage, is ADHD. Mm-hmm. Training an ADHD person for me.
Okay.
Is horrible. And that's on me. It's on me. It's because our neurodiversities are just doing this. They're just doing this. Yeah. And so one of the funniest ones, I've told the story about my greatest management lesson, and I'm not going to get into that because it's not really funny, but the same guy, ADHD and on the extreme end of the spectrum. And I come in one day and he goes, and I'm like, I'm looking at him and he's just wiggling everywhere and just like doing all this stuff. And he's got a fidget in one hand and he's got a stress ball in the other hand and he's on his bouncy ball and he's just going and going and going. And I'm just looking at him and I realize he's on the phone. And I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, and he tells me, he goes, when I helicopter, I do better. I was like, when you helicopter? And he goes, yeah, this is it. And I go, okay, so now everybody try helicoptering. Does this work? So we had the whole group just like wiggling around and doing stuff. And some people actually discovered that the movement helped. Yeah. And some people were like, okay, no, this is not working.
100%.
But he's just like in there just going, just like getting it. Like it was like he was at a club. He was at a rave. He was just getting it. And it was so funny.
I have a funny story around that too. I had years ago, I had a coworker that had one of those early prototype ball chairs, and it had a really good base to it on wheels and everything. It wasn't just a ball where you had to like bounce. It even had a lower back support so that you could lean back a little. It was a gorgeous chair. And the person quit and didn't take the chair with them. And it was their own personal chair. So I put it right at my desk and I got on that chair. I did because I wanted to try it out. And the first day I got home and I hurt so bad. And I was like, why does my core hurt so bad? I hadn't even noticed. I was boom, boom, boom all day long. And then I
gave yourself a workout.
I gave myself basically an 8-hour core workout. And I was like, why am I in so much pain?
ADHD, it will get you into shape.
Clearly, right? Well, and then like a couple weeks later, one of my coworkers was like, can you just stop, please? Can you just stop bouncing? And I didn't even notice, but I was just bouncing and I bounced all day long. And it was the best thing for me, concentration-wise. But it was so funny because everybody was like, all we can see is this little tiny Sabrina bouncing in the office every time we walk by her. But I was more productive in the time that I sat in that chair than I ever was at work because it got out the excess energy. And again, didn't even know at that point in time, I didn't even know I was managing ADHD or that I was accommodating for it. But we also have standing desks eventually at that company. And I would stand for 6 hours a day and I would dance and I would have my music on. I would be bouncing and people were just like, you just don't stop. I tell you.
It's true.
I'm tired all the time.
And that is the physical manifestation of ADHD. So it doesn't always look that way. So you can also sit for a whole day and read a book, but sometimes it's just constant. When I'm in a mania cycle, I do this a lot and I fidget, and sometimes I'll put things in my hands so that it doesn't look weird to other humans. If I'm talking to them or if I'm on a show or something, or I'll keep my hands very low so that they can't see it. But when I have, because the easiest way that I can explain it to other people is it's like somebody got a shot of adrenaline, just stuck it in your heart. That's what it feels like. You just are 90 to nothing. And so when you're trying to sit still and focus, it's like, I got to do something, or, I've got to put on music and kind of dance a little bit or something like that. And it can almost look like ADHD in that one little window of like that kind of hypermania phase. And I have, so one of my neurodiversities causes seizure activity. And so kind of on this line, so a friend of mine, Stacy Kaysen, she's a wonderful human. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn already, you should. She's absolutely wonderful. And she was on this show, and I was having twitches that day. And, I'll kind of jerk my head and my face will kind of go. And she goes, "Oh, look, it's your dance moves." She's like, "It's like you're at a club and you're just getting your dance on." It's like, oh my God. I laughed so hard that the only part of that show, that was the only recorded show I've ever done, the only one that was not live. And the only thing I edited out was how long I laughed. Okay. It went on entirely too long for that appropriate amount of laughter. It just tickled me. And I loved that she was comfortable enough to say that to me, that she was comfortable enough to bring levity to the situation. And again, read the room with that, folks. But if you know the person and all that, levity helps. I do it. I make jokes about my tics and all that because it makes other people feel comfortable. They realize I'm okay. And then we can kind of just go on with it. So one of my top pieces of advice to people that are neurodiverse, and I want to get your take on this, Sabrina, is to, when you're meeting somebody first, because I have a lot of people ask me, well, what about when I interview or when I'm meeting a client for the first time? And I always tell them, just address the elephant in the room. If you're comfortable, if that's something that you're comfortable with, if that's where you are, address the elephant in the room and make it, make a little joke if you can, because that tells them it's okay.
Yeah.
That tells them, this is, I don't need to do anything for you, because what I've learned is a lot of times that's actually the stress that people are feeling is, oh God, I need to help this human. What's happening? I don't understand what this behavior is. Yeah. Or this tic or whatever.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that? And what is some of your advice to people?
I think the only place I'd get a little nervous about that is in interviewing, because there's so many people out there that just would hold it against someone.
Yep.
But I am a kind of person that in long meetings or in conversations, if I have to sit like this and look at you and listen to you, I'm not going to actually hear a damn word you say. Because my brain is so concentrating on trying to be attentive that I'm not being attentive. And I've had people call me out for doodling or scribbling or even just coloring in the blank spots in words with my pen. But I take in so much more. So I will preemptively tell people, if I look down, if I start fidgeting, that's just because my brain's trying to process all the cool things you're saying.
Yes.
And my hands need something to do. I have to they have to get some energy out or coming in. But you're right. I'll make a little joke about it to let people know I am paying attention to you, even if it doesn't look like it.
Right. And you don't have to disclose why you're doing, you don't have to say I'm ADHD or I'm in a manic stage or anything like that. You could just say, hey, this helps me focus. So if you see me doing that, That's all I'm doing. Don't worry about it.
I used to get in trouble in school all the time for daydreaming because I would turn and look out the window.
Oh, a child daydreaming. Oh, world ending.
High school age, like high school age when
Still.
I mean, yes, but like when the teachers expect you at that point, especially back when I was in high school, they expect you to be paying attention. And I'd be looking at the birds or the leaves or the sun, like out the window, and they would call on me and I would answer the question and I would get it right.
Yeah, because you were listening. Yeah.
Honestly, it's the only way I could listen was because I was not staring at the teacher. And again, no one at that point in my life ever thought to say, maybe there's a connection to that. She's doing other things, but she's still focusing.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it wasn't until recently when I started hearing and reading and seeing stuff about how ADHD can manifest differently in women and what it can make us do in the way we function. And I was just like, well, for crying out loud, I've been managing this for decades and just thought I was weird.
Yeah. And I did an episode, like, am I weird or am I neurodiverse? I just did an episode out with Kat. And it's so true. Like, people always think, well, there's just something wrong with me, or there's just something. No, your brain just works different. There's nothing wrong.
I thought there was something wrong with me for decades.
Well, there might be something wrong with you, Sabrina, but it's not your neurodiversity. It's not your neurodiversity.
That's a whole other topic. Like I can't feed myself. I know it sounds funky and it is kind of funny, but I can't feed myself. I do not, for whatever reason, I do not have the capacity to like make meals and plan meals and
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Together. Like I cannot feed myself. And that is like one of the biggest jokes in my friends, my family, like everything. I always walk around with like the cheese and meat and cracker thingies in my purse. And people are like, that's like an adult Lunchable. And I'm like, I know, but
so what? You're still eating.
Calories. Otherwise I won't eat and I'll forget to eat, or I'll just eat crap, like flat out. And and I've been that way my entire life. I like to snack and nibble. I don't necessarily care about sitting down to a big meal, but please don't ask me to put one on the table unless you want me to cook Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes. Yeah. No, I was going to say, I love doing Thanksgiving. I did that. I did a Thanksgiving a few weeks after my hysterectomy, but I had help. I had friends that were there to do the lifting part. I did all the other stuff, but they did the lifting stuff for me. But I love to cook. I'm the opposite. Like I will cook for myself. I love it. But see, there are differences in neurodiversities. We are not the same. We are both neurodiverse. We even have one of the same diagnoses, but it's different. It's a different manifestation. And
I love baking because it's precise.
I can't bake. My cookies?
Precise. It's like, yes, patience. I forget to eat too.
Yes, my cookies come out like cakes, and my cakes come out like this. And now part of that was my oven. It has gotten better since I got a new oven. That was part of it, but it's still not good. It's a disastrous experience that no one should be subject to having to eat the things that I produce out of that. So I just don't do it anymore.
Because I can cook if I put my mind to it, but I can bake with my eyes closed. I've been baking since I was a little girl and taught myself how to make like intricate desserts when I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
I wanted to. Look.
See, I'm that way with cooking. I love to cook, so I just come up with stuff. Now, my last story about my neurodiversity.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yes.
I used to buy the groceries with one of my roommates on the agreement that she did all the cooking. So I would buy the groceries and then she would cook us food so that I could actually.
That's a good arrangement, and it's a good accommodation that you came up with for yourself. And that was very smart.
She makes all these great things and hated grocery shopping, and I was like, I got this. I will buy all the food and you can feed me.
I love it. I'll buy it. You feed me. It'll be great. I have a friend and I go over to her house sometimes and cook for she and her husband because she refuses to cook. And I love to cook. So sometimes I'll go over there and cook for them and we have a blast. My final story about my neurodiversity. So one of my little idiosyncrasies that comes with it is I'm obsessed with even numbers, right? Like I have to have even numbers. And so my husband, and because we're talking about food, this made me think about it. If I make, let's say a bowl of grapes, let's say I get myself a bowl of grapes, there is like an even number of grapes in there, like 50 or 48 or something. Like there's an even number. Mm-hmm. And he'll be like, I want one. No, you may have two. And it shows that there is still an even number in here and I don't have to deal with that. And he goes, what do you do if you get to the end and you miscounted and now there's an odd number? I said, I cut it in half.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah. When we were very first getting to know each other, it was just like, whatever. But and it's not something, and it's not, you're like, oh, that's perfectly reasonable. That's not a weird thing to do. And it's just one of those things, you know, and I just like, I have to do things in even numbers of time, but other people don't notice it. I've asked people, like, tell me if you see this. And they're like, you don't do that. You know, I was like, yes. Other people can't see how weird I am. That is the one masking that I still do. Is that like no one needs to be subject.
I separate colors of food.
Yes. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us. Sarah.
Yeah, I don't like eating like M&Ms. I don't like eating multiple colors.
Oh yeah, you put the colors together. I do that too. Yeah. I'll do
and then. So this is one of those things, I don't think I've ever told anybody I do this. So I take a bag of M&Ms, I separate them out by color, and then I make them all even piles, like so they have the same number of the color. And then I pull out all the individual ones off to the side. I eat those first. And then I rotate through my colors, one of each.
I love that.
So that they stay in the same size.
I love it.
Piles. And I mean, I've been doing it forever and ever, but you can't give me a bag of something that's like mixed colors.
It's not going to work.
Expect me to do that. And people have seen it and they're just like, but no one
what are you doing?
Ever said anything. They just watch me like I'm weird, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. I do not like putting the different colors together, and I can taste different colors in things like M&Ms.
Yeah. Because the dyes are slightly different. They're slightly chemically different. And it's like I can smell differences in things that other people can't smell.
Everybody tells me I'm crazy for that one. And I'm I can taste the difference between red, blue, green.
Yes,
orange,
it tastes different to me. I do the same thing you do, by the way, but on a mini scale. So I'll get a handful, not the whole bag, but I'll get the handful, and I do the same thing. So you're not weird. I mean, maybe we're both weird. And I'm okay with that.
I'm okay.
I don't mind being weird.
But you know what it is? As an adult, people don't tend to mock you for that stuff. But as a kid, kids mock you for those things.
That's true.
More
adults they don't know.
Seem to look at you a little funny, or they just put up to you an idiosyncrasy, right?
Yeah.
But I masked a lot of those things for a very long time because I did get made fun of as a child for a lot of the accommodations I made for myself. Yes. And I was not good making it funny for a long time. I felt very self-conscious about it. It wasn't until I got older and I could laugh about it or basically tell people to mind their own business that I was like, you know, whatever, it works for me.
Yeah.
It works for me. It keeps me alive. It keeps me happy and healthy. So you can take your opinion and, you know, just go out of town with it because I don't care what you have to say.
Don't care. And that's where I want to end the episode, actually. And we are at that time. But that is the perfect way to end the episode is enjoy yourself. Yeah. Enjoy your own kookiness like we do. You know, if you want to count M&Ms, if you want to, I have a very good friend who has to pet different things in a room before she's comfortable. It goes around and just touches and all, whatever it is that you need to do, enjoy yourself, enjoy your idiosyncrasies, find little games to play with yourself that like just kind of, you know, play with the idiosyncrasies and enjoy who you are, embrace who you are and be comfortable enough with it that when someone else treats you like dirt, go, that's your problem, not mine. Yeah. And then just keep on marching. And thank you so very much, Sabrina, for joining us. It was an absolute blast. We'll definitely have you back.
I love it.
And thank you, everyone. If anybody wants any resources, if you have a funny story to share, I'm going to wrap up the season with some funny stories from the audience. So if you have some funny stories to share about your diversity, your neurodiversity very specifically, please feel free to send it to us. And thank you so very much, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.